And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the PSGL YouTube channel. And we're live for round one coverage of the Formula 4 World Championship. We're here at the Bahrain International Circuit, the short version, and we're ready for round number one of the championship. My name, once again, is ISOX. Great to be back here for another season of PSGL action here in the PlayStation division. And today, I am joined by Sam T in the co-commentators booth, and the two of us are going to be commentating throughout the entire season, and I am so very excited to get underway. And we're just a bit through short qualifying right now, but Sam, great to have you in the commentators booth alongside myself, and it is going to be a hell of a season for sure.
Almost so, certainly. I cannot wait. Of course, both of us were in different tiers last season, so a new adjustment, new drivers to look over this season, and I just cannot wait for it. And what a way to start as well. A track we've never visited before. We haven't seen much data here at all here at Bahrain Short, and it's a 100% race, isn't it? So it's probably going to be the longest race of the season, so we're going to get a lot of action here tonight.
And we are sure. The Bahrain short track, which was ran in last season's Formula 1 action for the first time on the calendar. Now we actually get to see it in the real world of sim racing. We never really quite to see it too much due to the fact that most drivers do tend not to want to drive on these short tracks, but now that it's finally actually been used, I feel that the woodworks are open, and now we can see a little bit of interesting action going on. Make sure not to miss the turn on this short track, or else you'll be going straight into the stratosphere of no man's land. And it's time for qualifying. As you can see, the times are coming in, and the fastest time right now is by Kazizel with a 57.6181 is the fastest time at the moment, and that has quickly been beaten by Efrael Chapeloi by 57.587. Something interesting, the fact that 2 laps have been set. Of course, with this short track, the tires are not going to go out nearly as quickly as usual, so drivers may be going out for 2 hot laps instead of the traditional 1, so that is going to be a little interesting. Chapeloi has gone fastest at the moment, of course, from Formula 3 last year, has decided to turn online this time, so now he's been relegated to Formula 4, so I suspect him to be a strong challenger for the title this season.
Yeah, and once again, his teammates with Ginger, these two very close friends for the last couple of seasons, they've teamed up together and already high-flying in the Alfa Romeos. Kazizel returns, of course, this season as well, and I know about a bunch of others on this grid as well. I believe MNT Ghost was the F5 champion it weren't last season, it was the season before. So he's in F4 here, which is the highest tier in PSGL when it comes to retrospective of the assists. They are only allowed to use the racing line as the assisto here, so we're going to see a lot of competition, the best of the drivers that are allowed to use the assists. And I mean, I'm very excited. There's a lot of talented drivers on this grid at the moment, and a lot of drivers in their respective esports teams, but a lot of drivers that are returning to PSGL this season. Bugatti is an interesting one. I believe he won the Formula 2 championship a couple of seasons back, and of course, as you said, there's a bunch of guys coming down from F3 here who are looking to potentially win their first title or perhaps regain another title.
I am riding on board of Barak Bidev, who is about to finish off his first lap of the session without a time at the moment, with about 12 and a half minutes left to go. He's going to slot in 13th behind VER Devon 3043. Very interesting to see how the VER drivers get along here. 2 drivers right now who are in the division that raced with each other in the last division. Mike Kay and Devon, of course, in Formula 5. That title battle that we saw go down to the wire and finally be decided by a penalty in Mike Kay's favor. So very interesting to see how they will get along, whether or not they will be challenging for the title this season or whether or not they may be relegated to a little less points down in the season, as we do have a quite tighter grid than I think they will have experience in Formula 5. But nonetheless, we have about 12 minutes left to go in the session, watching live coverage of round number 1 in Bahrain short for Season 28 of the Formula 4 World Championship.
As we just see LRB, Ras LRB cross the line there, it goes 15th. Decent show for the first lap, and there's still 3 drivers not to set a lap yet. A bit surprising. You'd expect people just to get some bankers on their lap. FRL bred Majek, of course, obviously the champion of Formula 5 last season, looking to make a vengeance and try and win this championship as well. It'd be a hell of a streak if he ends up doing so. So I'll just ride on board with him for now, the Racing Point. He's coming through Sector 3 at the moment. Only one corner, two corners to go, but one corner where it requires you braking. As he's looking to potentially slot himself into the midfield, you would have thought. However, as he opens the DRS, how's he going to finish? He's in the 57s, yes, just about. He goes 12th place at the moment, so that's a good lap from Majek. And would you look at that? He's just right ahead of Devon as well. That's the sort of irony you would like to see here.
And FRL Bread has set a very nice time, sitting out in 4th on the grid with a 57.715, just hundredths of a second faster than his FRL compatriot Ginger, though different teams this time, and he's taking a bit of an excursion on the beachy portion of the track to get out of the way of some drivers. Janik as well. We're out of time so far in the session. Let's bring up the lap day and the track map so you can exactly what's going on. Janik, multiple-time race winner in Formula 5 last season, may be looking to do a little bit of damage, and he's the last driver, so we'll see if he is going to be last on track, though I think not so much. Definitely a very talented driver in his own right, and he is going to just enter. Oh, no, just miss the 57's, a 58 flat almost. It's going to put him 14th behind Mike K. But Mike K, meanwhile, has moved up to 11th. And was 11th for a second there. And then Devon snatches it away in 11th. And wow, that is really ironic stuff right there between the two VER drivers. And they are already showing a rivalry early on in this season, 11th and 12th. And they just snatched it away from each other.
Well, yeah, I think we'll see a lot from this, a lot from these drivers who were here last season in the Formula 5 Championship. Excuse me, there. Of course, the top 5 drivers around who were winning races all seem to be in the same complete place, and Devon and Majek just don't seem to be separated by anything. And at the moment, I think Datamo is the highest from that Formula 5 Championship, and obviously from the Formula 3 Championship, it'd be the current pole sitter in Chapelele, but it's still very, very close there with VRT Kerem, who has actually come up from F6, believe it or not. So huge improvements from him, and he has proven why he deserved to be in a higher tier as he sits himself in second place at the moment. A lot of drivers, though, at the moment, very, very close, and there's obviously not so much time to be made. I looked at my laps yesterday, and all of them were so difficult to make up time, because that's the only way you're going to make up time is you've only got around 4 or 5 corners where you can lose time or make up time. So from Recru, either he's had an installation lap, or he's got a bit of a problem there, as he is 2 tenths away from the next car, which is LRB in 19th.
And Bugatti, meanwhile, I want to mention, is sitting in 3rd on the grid. So former Formula 2 champion, having a good run so far, sitting in 3rd on the grid, looking to challenge very early on for the championship. We started the real Formula 1 season on a much longer version of this track, but we start our season on the short version this time. So we'll see how it's going to go. Definitely a overtaking frenzy, I might imagine, given that it is a lot of straights, not a lot of turns, a few hard braking zones. Hopefully we won't be seeing too many DRS trains here. We can see the drivers going flat out and going and pushing and trying to get the best position possible they can in the race. So just about 8 minutes left to go in the session. Drivers will be going for multiple different runs, and it looks like right on board a Farhan Racer right here, who is sitting 6th on the grid for the Mercedes team, looking to improve. He's on an outlap. FRL Bread is a little further ahead of him. Ginger is a little further ahead of him as well. So a bunch of drivers getting ready for their laps, and we'll see how they get underway here on their second runs. And FRL Chapelele is going for another lap. In fact, he just set a fastest second sector, I believe, right there. And he is actually, maybe, no, this is the second sector he's in currently, and will be coming towards the third sector, but a fastest first sector for him. It's a little confusing given how short these sectors are. He's about to come around the final turn, though, of that sector, and we're going to see if he goes just a little bit faster. And he does, almost by a tenth of a second, in fact. So really putting in the power right now. He's got a Ferrari ahead of him, which may help a little bit in the slip slipstream as he's coming down the start-finish line across the line, and it's going to be a faster time of 57.504, and Efero Chapeloli looking really strong right now in the early goings in qualifying.
Yeah, that's a very, very good lap time early on, and obviously still 6 minutes to go. Expect that time to eventually come down for a lot of drivers. Whether that pole time will be beaten, I'm not sure. As I said, it's very tricky to find time on their laps because there's not many opportunities where you can find too much time or lose too much time. So I'm intrigued to see what drivers do. A lot of drivers are starting their third runs, I believe, now on their third set of soft tyres. Out of the fourth ones I suspect they'll be using, such as Kerem and Bugatti right now are the ones who are... Bugatti started this lap. Kerem is coming towards the end of his lap. I'm not sure if he was on a lap. He's perhaps setting up for one now, so he's obviously had an extra lap to warm up, that is. But a lot of time's coming in, though, now at the moment, and just look how close it is. It looks so, so close. And for the race, that just does show us that perhaps pit stops will become very, very important when it comes to it.
I want to talk about Isaac Kush here, who I've commentated on a few times in ISRO's Division 1, where Efero Chapeloli also competes in. Isaac Kush is definitely one of his rivals, and I suspect him to do pretty well here in Formula 4. So we'll see how he gets underway as he's about to come around for his next lap, and he does not go faster, actually half a second slower than his previous one. He sits 8th fastest at the moment. Efero Ginger is going into the pit lane, is sitting 5th at the moment on the grid. Bugatti has seemingly gone a little bit faster on his previous lap and is now in a bit of a slowdown, going 4th at the moment. Kerem sits 3rd on the grid and is going back into the pit lane, and FRL Bread is there in 2nd. So FRL doing very good right now. If you're an FRL fan or you're part of the FRL team, you have to be quite happy to see the performance you're getting out of your drivers. 5th, 2nd, and 1st right now on the grid.
Yeah, very, very... I want to talk about some of the drivers, as a lot of them will be coming into the pits. I want to talk about the teams this season, of course, that we will anticipate. First of all, in the Mercedes, of course, it's a very strong lineup, I feel, with Ferhan Racer and Jan F1 Racer. I reckon that will be quite a strong lineup between the two of them. Both talented drivers, as they all are on this grid. But I want to see how that sort of dynamic works. They're not in the same esports teams, which seems to be a common theme when it comes to teammates. So I want to see if perhaps that is just a sort of a friendship between them. Perhaps they've chose each other, or it could be just the fact that they are not teams. But I want to look at a team that perhaps would seem quite dangerous. I think the Alpha Tauri looks very dangerous because Zizzle and Bugatti both race winners. Of course, one of them champion on the F1 2019 game. I did find what season that was. That was season 23, so quite a while ago now, since that championship from Bugatti. But that team looks very, very strong because Zizzle is also quite quick. He was in Formula 3 2 seasons ago, and he was performing towards the front of the field almost immediately. I already have really come across that Alfa Romeo team, and they're kind of proving me right that they look very strong at the moment. But the team that I'm interested to see going forward would be the Williams team at the moment. Bread in 2nd place, and Detamo, although he's gone down to 14th, he was riding quite highly early on, so I wonder if he has got a little bit more left in the tank. But those 3 teams specifically at the moment, they are looking like the strong teams to watch out for.
Dertamo, 3rd in the championship in Formula 5 last season. He was just 4 points behind Devin and Mike Kay, who ended up really battling for the championship, but he was right there in the thick of it. Had a really strong end to his season in season 27, so definitely expect him to be right in the mix of those VER drivers as well. Sitting 14th at the moment, has come out for an outlap, so is pretty much the rest of the grid, so I suspect we're going to be seeing our final runs here today in qualifying, and we're going to see who claims pole position. And it is going to be a very hectic part of the session. Let's wait and see. I'm riding on board of Efero Chapeloli, sitting on pole position at the moment. He's coming down the back straight, and it looks like he is getting ready to go. It looks like he may only have time for just one more lap because he's going to come around the corner here And I think he's only going to be able to have just about time for one more lap here. So FRL Chapelelli comes down the start-finish line on board of him. Let's see how he handles his final lap here. Can he claim pole position in the first round of the championship?
Yeah, well, he's currently got it.
Sorry, nope. All good. You can go now. Sorry.
Oh, I was just watching Devon. He's coming across now through sector 3. He's coming towards the end of his line. Lap looking to improve. There's a lot of people on their laps at the moment, though, looking to improve. Simply Rush does improve just about. Devon just improves just about.
Ooh, there's a crash. And it was Brett. I don't know if it was it Brett? No, it was the other Williams of Tomo who had a crash, and Efro Chapelelli just passed him as he was going on his lap, and he has gone faster in the second sector. So Chapelelli is looking to go just a little bit faster, but Tomo woes in qualifying for him, sitting down in 15th, is not going to improve in this particular session. Here comes across the line. Chapelelli's going to go into the 57.4s and set a faster time on the board. Meanwhile, FRL Bread, sitting in second, is looking to improve as well.
Yeah, watch out for Kerem. He's coming around the final corner. He is up by half a tenth. Probably not enough to beat Chapelelli's time, but definitely possible to get that second place. Has he got it? No, he hasn't. He's just missed out by a small margin there, but he finishes his lap. He hasn't got time for... well, he probably does have enough time for another one, but whether he has the tyre life. Brett seems to have not got the best out of his lap. He is 1/10 down, so I don't suspect he would be improving, and no, he doesn't. He sits in second, though, for now. He'll be happy with that. Ginger doesn't put a competitive time. A lot of drivers now going for a second lap. I don't know if they're going actually for laps at the moment. I'm trying to find someone.
I think Bugatti is on a lap at the moment. Janik has improved up to 4th on the grid. Meanwhile, great lap by the Renault driver. Bugatti, he's down by about 1/10 of a second. And I heard an oops, so I heard something must have happened. But nonetheless, Bugatti is about to come around the final turn just about. And we'll see how he manages the final sector here. It's all to play for. Sitting in P5. Can he improve on his lap time? Go a little higher? No. Sits 5th at the grid at the moment. Janik has gone up to 4th. A great final lap for him. Ginger has destroyed a styrofoam block, and that Rolex sponsorship goes out the window at that particular part of the track, and Ginger will not be happy, sitting only in 6th, quite a ways away from his Alfa Romeo teammate.
Yeah, and final driver, I think, now to complete his lap. I think everyone else isn't actually on a competitive lap at the moment. Would be Burak Bidev, who's gone up to 17th place there. So decent time from him, but looking at the end of this qualifying session, unless there is someone else, I don't think there is. There's no one else going on for laps now, so we are over with this. As suspected, Chapelelli is the quickest at the moment, and unsurprisingly, really, in a way, since he did come down from F3 and he was very anticipated for this season ahead, and I think a lot of people in the chat already anticipated a high result for Chapelelli, but one thing I know about Chapelelli is he does tend to actually bottle the strategy or bottle a win. He did it last season. I can guarantee you it'll probably happen at some point this season, but tonight, I'm sure he'll be wanting a win. He'll be wanting to get his season starting underway, and I mean, what a result for VRT Kerem I want to mention, and that's not biased if anyone wants to put that out because I am mates with him, but up from F6 to F4, and he's at the front of the field already, in 3rd place. A very strong result for him, so I'm really interested to see how he does this race, and just a lot of a mixed of a grid there. It looks very exciting, a lot of teammates separated from each other, and I want to see how the team sort of play ends up being.
And it is 5/10 of a second that separates the entire grid here at the Bahrain Short Circuit, at the Bahrain International Circuit. And that is it for short qualifying, and it's time for the Bahrain Short Grand Prix here in PSGL. Thank you so much for joining us live. If you are watching live coverage of the Formula 4 World Championship in PSGL's PlayStation divisions. And we're here at the Bahrain International Circuit, the short version of the track, and we're just about to get set for a 50% race around here. It's definitely going to be a hectic one, definitely a crazy one here, and we're back under the nighttime skies here, and it's time for race time. And Sam, any final words before we go over the grid order one more time on the formation lap?
Well, one thing I'd like to mention, it's a 100% race. It's not a 50%
Oh,
race. We're doing
my goodness.
50.
Why did I?
We're doing 57 laps around this circuit, so it's going to be a completely different dynamic. And I didn't realize it until yesterday until I raced myself in Formula 9. That would be so many tiers in this league, 12 divisions, not including its Challenge Cup division, FCC. I believe that's what it's called. I could not remember, but well, one thing I noticed is that the race strategy is completely different here. The tyres obviously wear out much less, and it kind of cost me a big result yesterday, potentially even a race win. So, yeah, I was really, really surprised about that. And I feel like for these drivers, there's something to watch out for in this race because it's a completely different dynamic to what you would see from a 50% race here in Bahrain.
So after that bit of Murrayisms from myself at the beginning, and we are underway now, though, for the formation lap of the Bahrain Grand Prix here at the Bahrain Short Circuit for round number 1. And Efrael Schiaparelli has, unsurprisingly to some, claimed pole position here today. And FRL Bread right behind him in the Williams in second. VRT Karam, a very impressive third spot on the grid. We have Janik in fourth in the Renault. Bugatti will start fifth in the AlphaTauri, with FRL Ginger starting sixth in the other Alfa Romeo, a little bit far away from his teammate. Izat Kush will start seventh on the grid, with Farhan Racer in eighth in the Mercedes. And ninth place in the other Renault will be Max RO. And rounding off the top 10 is Kazizel in fifth position. And going on board with the drivers through the bottom 10 of the grid order, FVR Charlie is going to start 11th in the Ferrari on the medium tire. Devin selects the mediums in the McLaren. MNT Ghosts starts on the mediums in the Red Bull. VER Mike K selects the medium tire, becoming a popular choice down here, it seems, in the Racing Point. Jan Racer starts on the soft tire in the bottom 10, and 15th in the Mercedes. Dirtamo on the mediums in 16th. 17th for Burka Bedev in 17th in the Haas on the mediums. Ross LRB on the medium tire in the McLaren. FVR Simply Rush in the Ferrari on the mediums. And Raz McCrew in the Red Bull will start P20th, and he will start on the medium tire. So just one driver deciding to select that soft compound tire. And it is in 15th place. Jan F1 Racer. We'll see if that works out for him. But it's time for the Bahrain Grand Prix, the international short track here for round number 1 of the championship in Formula 4. The grid is now all set to go. We're ready for the 5 red lights, and we're just waiting. And it's 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights here for round number 1. The lights are out, and away we go, and it's been a good start for Efrael Schiaparelli, and it looks like it's been a good start for Karam as well, alongside of the Williams, and coming on the inside looks to be Ginger, and also Janik trying to go on the inside, come in the turn 1. They all seem to get a pretty away cleanly. Oh, but there's Karam trying to push off the Williams, and they're still going side by side, banging wheels through the first couple of corners, but there is Karam, who does slot ahead of the Williams driver in third position now, being alongside him now, trying to go back on the inside. Karam and Bread immediately already having battles throughout the championship. We'll see if it continues on, but Bread has gone back ahead of the Haas. But Efrael Schiaparelli with a fantastic start, up in P1 already, a second ahead.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the start that Schiaparelli would have wanted. Bread and Karam fighting it out early on in this session, and I was expecting that to happen anytime soon, but Karam started to struggle a little bit already, perhaps a little bit flustered after that early adrenaline rush he must have had from the start of this race. He's now just about ahead of Bugatti, and as we've got this telemetry glitch, you need to sort this out. They said they did, but they haven't, but that's not any of our worries really at the moment. We'll be seeing a lot of these guys battling very closely. Another battle here as Ginger is round at the second corner there. I think he has saved himself though, just about, so he has been able to come back out in the midfield, but a little bit of a gap now beginning to form between the top 5 and everyone else.
And let me get back up as the leaderboard has sorted itself out right there. FRO Chapelelli leads by about 0.8 of a second, and it's dropped now within that second gap. So FRO Bread picking up some pace again after that early battle with the Haas, but it's not what he would have liked to have occurred early on in the session here. So we'll see how that affects towards the rest of the race. But we're already about to move on to lap number 3, which means DRS is about to come underway for the drivers here. And now we will start to see that rear flap open, allowing them to increase their top end speed by about 12 miles per hour, and we'll see if that is enough to get some overtake action going on here. But there it is, DRS enabled, and already look at this, Karam braking very late, trying to keep up with FRL Bread and keep himself in that top 3 position. But Bugatti is putting the pressure on. He's had a mistake, and Bugatti is alongside him coming through the turn. They're on the DRS straight. They both have the rear flap open, and Karam just gets ahead, but Bugatti may switch on the inside. No, a bit too far back. But Karam is starting to lose it, making some mistakes here early on in this race.
Yeah, a little bit of pressure starting to come in for the Haas driver at the moment. He came through turn 3 there, perhaps was a little floaty of the exit of that corner. I did watch his onboard and into that corner, looking very floaty at the rear, so I was expecting him to have a little bit of an oversteer or correction that he'll need to do. But luckily, he has stayed in the DRS, so he's probably not going to be overtaken by Bugatti here. The only problem is he looks like he's low on the ERS at the moment. Well, Bugatti has a lot to play with at the moment, so he'll just sit behind, I reckon, on Karam at the moment. But a little bit of a shaky start for the Haas driver, but he's still up to P3. I want to mention, though, FVR Charlie, though, this is a very interesting situation he's in. If he can keep in that DRS of all these soft runners, it's a very big advantage for him, because those soft tyres towards the end of that race will seem very nice indeed.
FRL Bread has continued to bring down this gap while Karam is struggling. FRL Bread is on another level of pace right now. It was about a second. Now it's only half a second. Chapelelli may be in trouble here as we're getting into the later stages of this race. And it's early days, though, but it's later times for these soft tires, which are sure to have a lot more wear than your normal new set of softs. But nonetheless, FRL Bread coming down the straight. He's got some DRS. The gap was about 0.7 of a second as they headed onto the main straight. That should be good enough for Chapelelli to stay in the lead for now. Riding back of Karam, and Karam is having a lot of lockups into turns. He's braking as late as he can, but it's causing him to lose a bit of pace. And look at that, he mounts the curb again, and he's having trouble keeping it all on track, and that's allowing Bugatti to stay very much well within his pace range, and he could be looking for an overtake maybe in a couple laps time if as long as he keeps up within that about 3 4/10 gap he's been having with Karam.
Yeah, this is at the moment, this is like a miniature version of the Indy 500 at the moment, with all these cars following each other in a long slipstream train.
A little bit of problems for Janik. Went off a little wide.
Oh, well, where's Janik at the moment? He's in 5th place. I didn't realise he was so far up. He's doing pretty well so far, Janik, but I believe he came in late to the Formula 5 Championship, meaning he couldn't be higher than he was. But a lot of this is going to be at the moment just strategy and looking to make the move when it's most necessarily needing to. A lot of you won't see many overtakes at the moment because everyone has that DRS, which is going to be so crucial. Maybe Jan F1 Racer will be looking at some overtakes, but at the moment he hasn't seemed to got some done.
There was a bit of a battle down in 17th, and that's Simply Rush making a move on McCrew, sitting down in 18th as they were having a bit of a squabble, but Simply Rush made that pretty easy coming to turn 1. So a little few battles. Jan Racer, as you mentioned, getting quite close back to the McLaren of Devon. Devon has a bit of a lockup, and he's right on the rear diffuser of that McLaren, but it keeps it out of that rear diffuser, and thankfully is still pretty close behind the McLaren, looking to make an overtake in the next couple of laps. As you can see, the lockups galore coming up and down the grid, and Devon may be really struggling. And look at this, moving to the inside line. Jan Racer is looking to have some advantage pace on those soft tires. Another lockup from Devon, and that allows Jan Racer to close up. Now he's got the ERS, he's got some DRS. He's going to use the DRS there to make an overtake. They're side by side down the start-finish straight. We have another move up the pack, and that's Maxo on the inside of Charlie. A switchback for the Ferrari. Oh, they bang wheels, and the rear tires meet the front tires there of the Renault and the Ferrari, and they have a bit of contact, and that allows Max to stay ahead of FVR Charlie for now.
Yeah, and Charlie probably a little bit shaky after that, perhaps with that bump there. As of course, Mikek just behind in 12th place, looking to push forward. Everything seems to be a little bit settled and calm at the moment, but a lot of overtakes still to come in this race. Maxro is going to be looking to challenge and catch up to FRL Ginger in 9th, who of course had that little moment in turn 2 himself, but luckily he saved it to stay in the points, which in my opinion was quite remarkable how he saved that. But at the moment, the top 10 just following each other at the moment, not really fussing each other, making strategic calls on when to overtake. And look at Fred, he is very close to Chapelele at the moment, and he's kept his gap nice and close. So Chapelele hasn't cleared off into the distance.
There's a yellow flag, and that is a retirement for MNT Ghosts in the pit lane. And that's a very early on retirement. Not too sure what was going on for Ghost there, but he was just having none of that race. And very early retirement, maybe a bit premature.
Interesting, I don't know. It didn't look like he'd pick up damage anywhere, because he didn't seem like he was in any battles, because we probably would have
on the inside is McCrew looking to make a move on Simply Rush, and these two have been battling here and there throughout the lap, and look at McCrew trying to find a way around the outside of the Ferrari. He's right behind the back of the Prancing Horse there, and this is shaping up. Oh, it was shaping up to be good, but McCrew has lost the rear end, and he resets on track. I'm not too sure that was too wise, because the Haas almost collected him there, but he thankfully got out of the way. But McCrew, unfortunately, catching too much dirty air and lost the back end. And that means he's going to be down in 19th right now, and both Red Bull drivers, both not having a very good race right now.
Yeah, and at the moment, again, still in this midfield at the moment, there's still a few drivers looking to reshape their race around. It looks like Charlie is starting to kind of settle in now in the DRS of Maxro at the moment. Not much time lost, or not much time gained for the Ferrari, which is actually good now for the medium runners, because the medium runners will start to pick up the pace a little bit, knowing that they're better than the soft tyres. I expect people to start pitting around lap 20 though on the soft tyres, as they won't make it to the end on the mediums at this stage. But I do expect to see a lot of interesting undercuts and a lot of creativity out front, because likes of Kerem, Bugatti and Janik, this isn't helping them at all, being stuck in that dirty air where the tyres are just going to end up being much worse than Chapelele's. And not only that, the engine as well is going to be very hot indeed, which is slowing them down on the straights ever so more. So expected around like 5 to 10 laps to see a bit of strategy changes and perhaps a few pit stops in the next few laps.
Meanwhile, FRL Bread continues to try to claw forwards towards Chapelele, but has stayed pretty calm. No daring breaks of any kind. He stayed relatively within that same gap, about half a second back from Chapelele. Kerem has actually settled in a little bit and has kept ahead of Bugatti for the moment. It was a little bit of a moment there for Bread, but he keeps it all together. But that's allowed Chapelele to gain a little bit down the straight here, about 0.7 of a second now. And that's going to continue to help the Alfa Romeo driver in this situation. But no real serious gaps forming, as you might imagine. A bit of a DRS train starting to form. And that is going to make the strategies very interesting. The undercuts and the overcuts. It's all going to be very interesting to see who makes it work. We had a little bit of a look there from, looked like Kazizel on the Renault right there, as he's right behind him. But now the Mercedes of Farhan Racer looking to possibly make a move. And we have a battle a little down the order here. Dertamo has made the move on Devin before turn number 1, got himself up in the 14th position, looking now to chase down Jan F1 Racer if he can at least keep Devin behind him.
Yeah, and Devin at the moment looking to redeem himself. He's down in 15th now. I believe he was 13th earlier, so he slipped back a little bit now, has Devin. But looking again at the medium runners, they tend to actually have the trend where they're actually quicker now than the soft tyres. From Charlie's and Mikek's perspective, that is anyway. Charlie closing in a little bit on Maxro, and Mikek as well also joining that trend. So that could be an interesting battle to see as a big lock up there from Charlie. May have lost him a big amount of time. And possibly if Mike had got a better exit there, could have been looking at the inside. I don't think he will do now. But Charlie is low on the ERS at the moment, so not very good for the Ferrari driver in 11th, as he's left himself a bit exposed as Mike almost going into the back of him here. This is what dirty air can do to you when braking as well. You could go just straight into the back if you brake a little bit later than the guy
Mike
in front
K
of you.
has a really bad run out of turn number 3, it looked like there, and really lost a lot of time to Charlie. About 0.6 of a second now separating them. So Mike K making mistakes, not mistakes he can afford if he wants to keep up, and he's having problems. You can see he's really fighting the wheel right there. The rear end is not playing to his hand at the moment, and we're going to see if he can catch back up to the back of that Ferrari. Meanwhile, Bugatti is in the hunt, and you can see about 0.3 of a second separating Karam and Bugatti, but with all of them having DRS and all having pretty much enough ERS to say the very least, they are not able to make any moves,
Karam.
and look at that, Karam. I did not expect that out of Karam, and I don't know if that was necessarily smart, because now Bugatti is going to be all over the back of him, and I was saying they're all staying relatively calm, but that's not really the case now. As you can see, Bugatti really using up his DRS to his advantage, getting very close to the back of that Haas, but at the moment he'll stay back behind.
Yeah, Karam having probably a little bit of lapse of concentration there, perhaps. Of course, this race is very long. It is more of an endurance race. There's a lot of patience involved, and perhaps a lapse of concentration going into turn 1. Maybe a miscalculation of the braking point as well, and almost going to the back of the FRL Bread, which could have ruined just his race, or could have ruined both their races. So luckily that isn't the case, but Bugatti now is going to look to put on the pressure, because he does know now that Karam is a little bit bugged by a few things at the moment, and he'll just need to sort out. Looking further behind though, look at Kazizel. Janet goes defensive because Kazizel was there on the inside. He goes for the move. Has he made it done? Yes, he has. He doesn't hit his teammate as well, which is better. Yannick has a little bit of a moment there out of the exit of turn 1, and Furhan Racer is also through there. So Yannick losing a lot of pace at the moment, down in 7th. That probably is down to tyre grip. Started to go for the Renault, and perhaps a few other drivers could also end up making a few more mistakes in these next couple of laps.
Look at the top 3, and even the top 4 is Bugatti. Look at this, right on the back of the Haas right there. Karam is really starting to lose some grip in those tires, it looks like, and the Bugatti is loving every second of it, and he's using some overtake out of the corners now. He's really maybe sizing up Karam to possibly make an overtake come this lap, as they're all so very close to each other. Look how close with the braking. Bugatti gets to the back of that Haas car, and now we move on to lap number 14 of this race, and in the DRS is Bugatti trying to catch up to the back of Karam. He looks on the inside, but all he does is look. He's way too far back at the moment for an overtake there, but it is getting very close here at the top of the order. But I have to imagine as they come towards their first pit stop, they may want to not battle so hard as not to lose time to the drivers behind them when they finally do have to make those pit stops.
Yeah, and obviously Charlie now coming through, so this basically confirms to us now that those soft tyres are starting to really go off compared to the mediums. The mediums coming straight to fruition against the soft tyres now, so expect these medium tyre drivers to start performing a little stronger now, as there goes Max Rowe round at turn, I'm not sure what turn this is turn 5, I believe now, because we've obviously got to change that because it's not the actual Bahrain circuit, but that's him round, and he will be dropping a few positions. And well, this is what I mean though about these drivers in the middle. They may have witnessed this, and this may actually give them some sort of insight to perhaps try a different strategy, get creative here. Not many people will know the strategy around this track, so it's quite a different one, but it should be soft medium. But expect to see a few pit stops in a couple of laps. It's too early, in my opinion, to get the soft mediums done.
Karam is really, really struggling. Those soft tires are not working out. Now he's dropped that back a bit by about 0.6 of a second. That's going to allow Bugatti to have more and more advantage with his DRS over Karam. Karam is really trying to keep up with the back of FRL Bread. That's his only opportunity to stay ahead of Bugatti, because Bugatti will be all over him. But as you said, those soft tires are really starting to run out, and we're starting to see a few drivers make costly mistakes because of it. Mike K is right behind FVR Charlie, though, and has continued to size him up throughout this race, and he's getting close to an overtake possibly, as Charlie has nothing to play with no driver ahead of him. As they come into the final turn here, we may see an overtake for Mike K come down this straight. They're about 4 tenths back from each other. Here comes Mike K on the Ferrari of Charlie, and it looks like it's going to be an easy move with the DRS, and Charlie can do absolutely nothing to defend, and down into 11th. Mike K up into the points.
Yeah, Mike K up to 12th place, so he'll be now looking to focus on getting forward. A little bit of a moment there between him. A couple of penalties started to happen now for a few drivers, which is interesting. Only 2 at the moment with Charlie and Jan F1 Racer, but that could be costly for them when it comes to the end of this race. But Mike up to 10th place at the moment. He's 5 seconds behind Ginger, so I don't.
There's another yellow flag, and I believe it's a Red Bull and the Haas. They've had a bit of a squabble, and I don't know what happened there, but Burka Bedev has had a much better end to that affair, and I'm not too sure what happened there. We didn't really catch it, but I have to imagine that McCrew may not be too happy with whatever did in fact happen, because the yellow flag came up and it was those two right next to each other.
Yeah, I don't expect him to be happy at all. McCrew and Barak, for both of them, haven't exactly had the race they would have liked at the moment. And again, a lot of drivers towards the front bundled up. There's a bunch of drivers who have not had really races to remember. LRB, of course, also promoted from the Formula 5 division, and he's not exactly had a race to remember at the moment. And it's those at the back, they're pitting. That is probably because they've got to get wing changes, or they're just going to retire in the pits. So not a very good day for Red Bull. That team obviously definitely not having a good day. But for Haas, it's a little bit of a yes-no at the moment, because Kerem's still in 3rd place. He's been under pressure from Bugatti for a while. This was the lap I made my pit stop, and it really worked off well in the end, the undercut. But I'm not too sure on how long the tyres do last, because I did have a few safety cars and my tyres were around 55 to 60%. So I do expect a couple of drivers to potentially look at pitting in the next lap or two, depending on their tyres and how they feel. But Kerem at the moment under a little bit of pressure more, and with Burak now in the middle, this is going to be a bit awkward for these front runners now. So we'll have to wait and see. There's still a lot of laps to go, and there's still a lot of decisions to be made.
This does help Kerem a little bit, though, because now he's got his teammate to capture a bit even more slipstream possibly off of him, but it also might hurt him with a bit of downforce loss, as despite the fact there is a ghosted car, it is definitely affecting performance a little bit, and I would presume that I hope not in a case of Burka Bedev, but he may come into trouble with the stewards, given the fact that blue flags are kind of being ignored at the moment, because he's still right in the thick of it with that Williams car of FRL bred, and I'm not too sure what's going on here, but it's definitely very awkward if you're that Haas there in 19th.
Yeah, Max are around again.
Ooh,
so
on the inside, look at this, Bugatti and Kerem side by side through the turns. Kerem still side by side. Bugatti has the inside line. He pushes him wide off track, and Kerem comes back on track ahead of Kazizel. But now Kazizel may have the no, he doesn't have enough of anything, and he's just going to stay behind Kerem at the moment. But Kerem maybe looking to make an overtake again. But Kerem almost loses the back end and allows Kazizel the challenge on the inside, and he keeps it together. Off track he goes, back on track. I do not know how that car did not spin around, but he kept it together nonetheless, and he sits still in 5th. But now for Han Racer may look to make it an attack, but those soft tires are really starting to give out, and I may start to see some drivers come into the pit lane to get off those soft tires, because they are really not working to anybody's advantage right now down here with 20 laps on those.
Yeah, and here we go. As you said, here come the drivers into the pits. Furhan Racer is the first one to blink then. He is on the medium tyres. This is going to be interesting, because this outlap is going to be crucial. If he's quick on this outlap, he could actually end up leading this race, believe it or not. I don't think it'd be the case, but he definitely could be in a good position. But these soft tyres just look deadly, don't they? We've seen from Kerem struggling on them out the exit corners, and again having to oversteer and correct his line. A lot of wheel spin coming from them. Just no more grip is
And
available
he
for the
has
Haas.
another problem, and now Kazizel gets ahead of him, and Karam is losing all of it. He comes ahead of Janik. That might be a unsafe comeback on track, actually, as he came very close to cutting it. Oh, there's big braking from Ginger. He almost hit the back of the Renault, and now you start to see the pit lane become very, very busy here. The soft tire runners are coming in, and Kazizel's picked up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That's not what he needed to do come the end of his first stint, but here he comes into pit lane, puts on the medium tires, and that will be the final pit stop, I believe, for most of these drivers in this race. But nonetheless, it was a very rocky end to the race there on the softs, and now they move on to the medium tires, and now it's ball game for everybody. And McCrew has picked up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. The penalties are starting to rack up a little bit for some.
Yeah, and look at Furhan Racer. He's passed them all. He's passed Kerem, he's passed Kazizel, he's passed Iza Kush as well. He's passed all of them here, and Janik as well, for good measure. And I think Ginger was even ahead of Furhan Racer. So he has made a big jump on them now, but he has got one lap more on his tyres. So towards the end, he'll be struggling a lap before everyone else does, theoretically. Now here come the leaders into the pits, so now I'm interested to see what Furhan can do. 2 laps on those soft tyres. Can he take the lead of this race, potentially?
Max Rowe is out of the race. I'm not too sure. I think he did retire in the pit lane, so that is why the yellow flag is out. But nonetheless, the pit stops are coming in. Mike K currently leads well, he would lead the championship if he won, but at the moment he's just leading the race. And that has allowed Farhan Racer, and Farhan Racer actually did not get ahead of Chapelelli or anybody like that. So he is quite close to the back end of Bugatti, who is trying to warm up his tires, and he can't quite do it right now because he's got to deal with the Mercedes. But Bugatti does pick up a bit of a gap there now, and Farhan Racer will try to catch up to him. And now there's another yellow flag right there towards the exit of the pit lane. I'm not too sure what that's for. It's just a
Simply
constant
Rush.
waved yellow.
Simply Rush. He retired in the pits.
Okay. I'm just not... Yeah, but he's come out back on track, that's why. Oh, yep, Chapelelli, 3-second time penalty. A little unorthodox if you're one of the top runners. They do try to keep it out of the danger zone, but that might hurt Chapelelli towards the end of this race.
Yeah, we notice, of course, with how important the DRS is. Brett hasn't got it, so I'm sure Bugatti, if he's got the pace, he'll look to get by immediately on Brett to try and challenge Chapelelli, because he will see that Chapelelli's got a 3-second penalty, and he'll use that to his advantage, knowing that if he gets past Brett, he could be the one setting the pace and setting the field out as the first winner of the season. But Chapelelli, he's 1.4 seconds clear, so he's actually got no sort of fuss in front or behind him, but he isn't exactly making time on Brett behind. I say that, but he's kind of fluctuating between 0.4 and 5. Still a long way to go, though, and for Chapelelli, it's a long, anxious wait to whether he can potentially end up winning this race. Furhan Racer doing all right, though. He's moved up to net 4th at the moment, when you consider the 4 front runners to pit. Of course, Devin, Datamo, Charlie, and Mike K do not have not made their stop. Sorry. And speaking about them, I think Mike K is getting close to Charlie at the moment. Those two battling very, very strongly, and Charlie at the moment just holding his position. But we'll have to see all this straight, because Mike K may want to make the overtake here. Is he going for it? No, he isn't. It seems like he's just going to sit in behind the FBR driver and start again, perhaps when they come down to turn 1.
It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it, FVR, Charlie? I don't know why it's so difficult to say, but nonetheless... this battle is continuing to unfold between Bugatti and Brett. Bugatti right on the back of Brett. Brett struggling with the fact there is no DRS help for him in this race, as he is dropped back a bit from Efro Chapelelli. 1.8 seconds that gap right now. Bugatti is looking to capture a net P2 in this race once everybody does come into the pit lane. And I will see if he can capture that, and then possibly even capture the win if he can stay within that 3-second gap and not pick up a 3-second time penalty of his own. Chapelelli really hurting himself in this race with that penalty, and here comes Bugatti alongside FRL Bread. FRL Bread can do nothing to defend. And coming in the turn one, it's an easy move for the AlphaTauri driver, and up in the second position net come when those pit stops happen for those medium tire runners.
Yeah, and at the moment, Bugatti up to second place, and he is closing in on Chapelele. And the director, Big C, saying, come on, Bugatti. So obviously we know who he wants to win here tonight. It's obviously the previous F2 champion, showing his experience at the moment when it matters. Up to second place, net-wise. If there is a safety car right now, I think that still will remain the case, since these drivers do, at the front, at the moment, will not have enough time to beat Bugatti, but definitely will improve their position. Not only that, it'd be an awkward time for those medium runners if there was a safety car now, because Sos will not make it to the end, and they cannot go on a set of mediums, and the hards would just be a diabolical strategy in the end. So a very awkward time if there is a safety car now, but it could be good for Bugatti, as he'll have a sort of chance here to stick with Chapelele and win this race, whereas at the moment, Chapelele, he has all the free time in the world. If he catches up to Devon in the next couple of laps and gets that DRS, well, he's just going to make up a bit more time and be a bit more fortunate potentially to win a race.
It's a bit of a tale of two races right now. Chapelele back by about 5 seconds from Devon, and I don't expect him to push too hard to catch up to the back of that McLaren, and there is another yellow flag, and that is a Haas, and that, I believe, is Berkadev, and yes, it is. He has had a spin, and it has just been a woeful experience in this race for Berkadev. He has had spins, he has had problems of other drivers on track, and we're not too sure why exactly those problems have happened, but it has not gone too well for at least one half of the Haas garage. And into the pit lane, and I think we may see a retirement here for the Haas driver. And he goes right into the pit lane, and he sped there, and I expected that was going to be the case.
Yeah, well, 4 drivers down though at the moment. We still don't know what happened to MNT Ghost. He just randomly retired in the pits, it seemed like. I had no idea why he retired, so I'll be very interested to see what the reasoning for that is. At the moment, though, Bugatti in 6th place, closing in on Chapelele again. It seems to be fluctuating a bit up and down. He's not under pressure from Bread behind. Bread is still there, but Bread just isn't pressurising him too much. They're both roughly in the same sort of situation at the moment, but I think Bugatti at the moment just focusing on keeping that gap.
Oh, look at this, a battle between Kazizo and Farhan, and Kazizo has made a move on the inside in a not particularly orthodox location of overtaking. Maybe Farhan making a bit of a mistake on track, but that's allowed Kazizo to get ahead. And meanwhile, Mike K has made the pass on Charlie on track and has taken back the lead of the race. So Mike K up into first position, and meanwhile, let's keep up with the rest of the battles that are really starting to come on alive right now, as Kazizel ahead of Farhan Racer in the Mercedes. Now Isaac Kush maybe looking to size up the Mercedes driver, making a move up into 9th. Farhan Racer, despite that great pit stop from himself, may be feeling the effects of even just that one lap older tire. And look at this, Isaac Kush looking to make a move on the inside on, and look at this side-by-side in contact, and Farhan, and a contact between the Haas and Karam. What a disaster that was for Karam, who was having such a great race, and unfortunately Farhan span right in front of him, and Karam could not avoid him, and that's front wing damage here in this race for Karam.
Oh, what a disaster for both drivers. I'm not sure what happened to Farhan Racer. I just saw the back of it, though, with Karam, and that's really unfortunate.
Well, there was a bit of contact between Isaac Kush and Farhan, and I think that may have what started that spin. Isaac Kush made a move on the inside, and looked like just a bit of a tap, but it was enough to unsettle the Mercedes, and unfortunately that caused a spin.
Yeah, well, a very unfortunate one for Karam. He'll be hoping for a safety car now with him going onto the soft tyres, so perhaps just looking to make a little bit of an impression here. They will not go to the end. However, I think the good thing about this is if he does get a safety car, he can go on to another set of softs here. He will be at the back of the field, but a lot of drivers will be considering it, whether to do so or not so in the next couple of laps. McCrew picks up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
And he's retired in the pit lane as well, and drivers are just not having it here at Bahrain Short. It has been a frustration zone in round number 1, and that's McCrew now out of the race with a retirement.
Yep, that was very much expected. A very dismal opening race for the Red Bull team, particularly McCrew and Ghost, obviously both out. And it's rather unfortunate for the Red Bull team to start off with. They look like they could be a promising team, but they've kind of fell away a little bit. Devin, interestingly, into the pits, now onto
There's
the
another
soft
yellow
tires.
flag. And I believe that may be Ras McCrew's car coming out of the pit lane, so that is why we're seeing those yellows. Apologies.
Yep, that would be the case. But at the moment, 3 runners now still on the medium tires, 30 laps odd, something that you would see quite to be quite alien. If you think about it from most circuits, no tracks really see that, but it's 100% race. There's 57 laps here, not your usual 36, perhaps, let's just say, at Austria, where it would be the highest at Monaco, 39. So, rather unique sight here, 30 laps on the medium tyres, but they're making it, and they're still staying on them, which is a good thing. But looking towards the medium tyres, Bugatti now 2 seconds behind Chapelele. That could extend very soon as Chapelele continues to close in on D'Atamo ahead. So Bugatti at the moment is probably going to lose a little bit more pace. Bread looks very close to him as well, so Bread probably looking to wait for the right moment to retake that second place. But at the moment, Bugatti will win this race, but the time is going up, and Chapelele is making back the time he needs to potentially win this race.
We're not particularly aware right now of what's going to happen in terms of warnings, though. Some drivers may be coming close to a penalty or another penalty. So Efro Chapelele picked up that penalty rather early, and LRB has now retired out of this race, and drivers are just retiring very early on here in F4. And I gotta tell you, Sam, just a bit of opinion myself. I always just feel like you just go till the end. You never know exactly what's going to happen. I'm not a huge fan of these early on retirements from the drivers.
Yeah, I think the drivers perhaps think their luck has run out at the moment, but there's a lot of luck still to pursue. Speaking about luck and the opportunity here for Bread looking to overtake Bugatti, just too far back again, just about. But wait for these soft tyre drivers. They're going to come out relatively behind here, but I do expect, interestingly, for them to close in fair quickly. And if there is a safety car, it could play right into their hands in the next couple of laps. And you're looking at potential places where we could potentially see something like that. Think about this whole battle here towards the front, the battle for second between Bugatti, Bread, and even Kazizel and Izzat Kush as well in this. And unfortunately for Ginger, he's fell back quite a fair bit. He's in a battle with Janik at the moment. So a lot of places where we could see a few safety cars being done. But look at the gap for Chapelele now. He's doing what he needs to do, escaping away and almost 3 seconds clear. Doing what he needs to do. What about Bread at the moment? He's closing on Bugatti. Is he looking for the move here on this lap? No, he isn't. It doesn't look like it anyway. But he has looked closer than he ever has been, because this all as well just behind. So a lot of action still going on for this second place at the moment, but everyone's just eyeing up the move. They're not looking for it intentionally right now, but they're just sitting behind and just waiting for the right time to strike.
Remember, though, Kazizel has a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. He got that when he entered the pit lane, so Kazizel, that might bite him, and Karam has now decided to retire out of this race, and that was a driver, as we said, was doing very, very well, and he just decided that, this race is over for me. He had picked up another 3-second time penalty a little earlier on, and that's it for Karam. Unfortunate. Both Haas drivers out of this race. A pretty bad effort for the Haas team.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate for the Haas team and for the Red Bull team. Both drivers out. That's not what they would have wanted their championship to begin with, in my opinion. I think they'll be waiting for something else. That yellow flag, I think it's just Karam coming out of the pits. There doesn't seem to be any incident so far between other drivers. Yannick looking close to Ginger. Is he looking for a move very soon? Both drivers seem to be on the attack at the moment, so I wonder if Yannick is still looking just to close up a little bit more to Ginger. But Brad, again, he's just sitting behind. If I remember from last season in Formula 3, we did see this happen between the two leaders, between Lakitu and M-Shot last season. Lakitu was just waiting for the right time to get past, but he was stuck in the dirty air for so long it ruined his tyres, meaning he couldn't make the move done. So Brad has to watch out here, because those mediums are actually going to be feeling much worse than Bugatti, and perhaps he's starting to experience it a little bit, as he is 6 tenths behind now. That is perhaps the biggest gap we've seen that between the two in the last couple of laps. So I'm very surprised that Brett isn't thinking about making the move anytime soon.
It is still a little bit of a race to go, and look at this. Yannick has in fact made the move on Ginger up into 6th position, and will now maybe look to get towards Isaac Kush, who is right there in the mix of it as well, behind Kazizel. And we'll see if maybe Isaac Kush will be looking to make a move soon on Kazizel, but he doesn't have to if he doesn't want to, because Kazizel has that 5-second penalty, and that is going to bite Kazizel later on in this race. And nonetheless, back up to the top 3, FRL Bread continues to stay behind Bugatti, and he is being patient. Bugatti, meanwhile, is just on that 3-second cusp behind Chapelelli. Chapelelli in the race of his own right now. All he needs to do is gain a 3-second gap to get the win here ahead of Bugatti at the moment as it stands. No other penalties for those bottom 2, in fact, but FRL Bread would be outside of that 3-second time penalty, so it is really just Bugatti who's right on that 3-second cusp, trying to get back into it, but he is losing more and more time every lap. FRL Chapelelli in a bit of a pace of his own at the moment as well.
Yeah, it looks like Chapelele at the moment is just trading a little bit, but he is using a lot of his ERS to keep that gap. As for Bugatti, he's not using too much, but both of them relatively short at the moment. Not insanely short, but relatively short. I think Bugatti is being a little bit more cautious for whether he uses it or not, perhaps because he has got cars behind that could strike at any point if given the opportunity to. But at the moment, 3 cars behind him just sitting back, just relaxing. There's nothing really for them to attack with at the moment. But the main battle we should be seeing on track is this battle for 6th place. Yannick versus FRL Ginger at the moment. It looks like Ginger could be looking for a move back into 6th place on the straight. He looks like he's going for it. It's going to be a nice and easy move to the inside. There's no point defending. He's already got past the Renault and already switches back to the racing line. So Ginger back up to 6th. These two starting to trade places a little bit.
Janik had a bit of a squabble out of the turn there, but he will keep up with Ginger for the moment. And did go a little deep there, and he's going to lose a little bit more time, actually, to Ginger. And now Ginger has pulled about a 6/10 gap on Yannick. So Yannick having problems after that overtake, and is he starting to feel effects of the medium tires? It's still pretty early days, about the middle of the run for those tires, so not too sure. Meanwhile, let's keep on board, though, still. Let's remember we have these soft tire runners who are on very quick tires, and I'm sure Mike K will be looking to get close to Farhan Racer in just a maybe even a lap's time. There it is, under a second right now. Mike K is really starting to get close to the back of that Mercedes, and he will be looking to move up through the pack later on in this race.
Yeah, this is where the effects are starting to come in big time for these soft runners. I don't think he'll get it down to turn 1. I think it's a bit too far back for now. Well, he definitely is far back. If he gets the move done from here, it's quite revolutionary. But look at the grip levels going into turn 1. Much more confident on the brakes was Mike K at the moment, so he's closing in, and Farhan a little bit over the place. He knows the pressure is on, but DRS open should be an easy move for Mike K around this corner. There we go, nice and easy. The racing point up to 8th place, and this is where you will start to see these soft tyre drivers perhaps now starting to close in with these medium tyre drivers. Fortunately, though, for the medium tyre drivers ahead, there's a bit of a gap now for Mike K and the other soft drivers to make up, so that's the fortune. But I guess at the moment it's going to be a difficult one, but I think Mike K is showing performances where he can catch up to these guys and potentially look for a top 5 here.
FRL Bread continues to stay patient behind Bugatti. Bugatti keeping within that 3.1, 2.9 second gap. Chapelelli has been trying to get out of that 3-second window, but he is just there. He's just not really getting a overwhelming pace majority on Bugatti. So FRL Chapelelli, is he struggling a little bit? He's using up quite a bit of ERS. He's only on 26%. That is a little unorthodox normally for somebody in the lead of this race, but he knows the gap he has to form if he wants to win this race. At the moment, 3 seconds weighing over him, And I also want to mention, again, the fact that Efro Shapalili did pick up that penalty rather earlier on in this race. Is he on heels of another one? Because he has to keep up the pace. Is he starting to cut maybe corners and possibly pick himself another penalty?
Well, he's one away from it. Like, he's on 2 warnings at the moment from another penalty. So I don't understand what his sort of strategy is here. It looks like Bugatti's in a similar situation, but he's not had his first penalty yet. But if Shapalili cuts one more corner, he's got a penalty here, and that's going to really hinder him. Say if Bugatti doesn't get a penalty, because Bugatti will be thinking now, he's got 16 laps to go. If Shapalili gets another penalty, he's just got to make sure he keeps himself in the same position. He's got Brett behind him as well as Shapalili. Oh my goodness, that's a huge oversteer moment. He's off the track. He's gone wide out of the exit of turn 7. Excuse me there, but he's lost a lot of time, and that's a big game changer in this race. Bugatti now back in 1.6 seconds. All that time, all that hard work that Shapalili had done to get himself back in the lead of this race has all gone down the drain.
Shapalili might have some debris on those tires, so the grip in the turns will be a little hindered as well, but Bugatti is got to be thinking, this is my race to win now. Shapalili, he's got 2 warnings. He needs to get one more to get another penalty, but now he's lost all that time that he was trying to make up on Bugatti, and now 1.7 seconds the gap. Shapalili was not able to gain any more time on Bugatti. This is going to get interesting, folks. 1.7 seconds that gap, 1.8, 1.7 fluctuating. Bugatti very much in the mix for a win here today, unless things change in terms of penalties. But Shapalili looking possibly on another one. Bugatti possibly getting towards his first. We'll have to wait and see how it unfolds. Lap number 42 of 57. We're starting to get into the closing stages of this Bahrain Short Grand Prix.
Yeah, and here comes Brett. Is he perhaps looking for a move here? He's closing in on Bugatti, although he's just going to sit behind again. He knows that time is on his side. However, is the pace on his side? Shapalili picking up the pace again a little bit now. Perhaps he's just been using his ERS a lot. He's using it a lot at the moment. He's almost out of it, to be fair. So that red light will be flashing. I'm not sure if Bugatti will be able to see that from here, but that is the case. He's very low on his ERS, but Brett at the moment just sticking behind Bugatti. I'm not sure when he'll want to make his move, but perhaps getting towards the end of this race now, Brett has that opportunity to potentially win this race, and it's become a little bit more possible now after that Shapalili spin, because it does suggest that Shapalili's tyres are not in the best condition at the moment.
Yeah, a very unorthodox mistake from Shapalili, but then again, they do tend to call him Bottalelli sometimes there at the top of the standings. Hopefully, that is not the bottle that loses him this race, but he is getting close to that next penalty. 2.5 seconds the gap now, so as he says, starting to pick up the pace a little bit. May be able to get back up that 3-second time penalty. FRL Bread is looking to put the pressure on Bugatti. Bugatti has to keep up the pace, because as soon as he starts the battle with Bread, it may be all over for him in terms of getting that race win, because he's going to lose a bundle of time in that situation.
Yeah, Bugatti at the moment needs to get rid of Bread. He needs to make sure that Bread does not have an opportunity of ruining his race. Although Shapalili and Bread are not in the same team from PSGL-wise, they're in the same esports organisation, which could play a factor in this race potentially, because if Bugatti isn't further away, Bread could also use that sort of attacking factor. Perhaps Bugatti's aware of that and started to think that a little bit, but Bread just not really attacking at the moment. He's still waiting for a right time, but he's got a lot of ERS to use. So I wonder if he's just waiting for the final few laps to just certify his dominance ahead. He's much more secure than Bugatti at the moment.
Bugatti has about 25% ERS, so he doesn't have quite a lot to play with as well in terms of picking up that gap with Shapalili. But Shapalili, he's on he's definitely in the E right now, and if ERS had a fuel gauge right there, because he is using up all of that overtake throughout the corners, picking up as much traction as possible. But as you said, maybe his medium tires maybe do not have the life we thought they'd have. He's probably had to use them up quite a bit, but he's now brought that gap back up to 3.1 seconds, about where it was before. So Schiaparelli looking to really capture a victory here after that mistake. He is all game time right now.
Yeah, it's all very, very close, and at the moment, Bread's still continuing to get close to Bugatti. No move to be made. If he doesn't make his move so soon, we could see Kazizel have a go on Bread. If Kazizel has the opportunity to, if Bread makes a small mistake, we could actually see him have a moment, and, well, would you look at that? The sort of coincidence that is. Kazizel has a mistake with that, has opened the door for Izzat Kush. Is he going to look around the outside of this move, or has Kazizel dominated the corner? He has done well, but Kazizel going a little bit wide out the exit of that corner does suggest that he is starting to get a little bit frustrated behind these two not doing anything, and of course the dirty air perhaps being a bit of an effect to his braking as well. His normal braking points perhaps start to be a little bit more inconsistent, but at the moment, Schiaparelli has done what he needs to do, and in fact, he's pulled more of a gap than he ever did before, so he's been really, really rushing his tyres as much as he can. He's got no ERS really to use. At the moment, it's all about
Oh,
Bugatti.
here we go. Here's the battle. Bugatti and F4L Bread going side by side into turn one. Bugatti covers it well. On the switchback now is Bread. Coming through into turn number two. F4L Bread around the inside now, and he's banging wheels with the AlphaTauri, and now the AlphaTauri goes off track. Bugatti still side by side. Now Kazizel getting into control, and he's off track as Kazizel trying to make that move. Now Bread has lost the positions to both the Bugatti and the Kazizel, and then the Izzat Kush on the inside. Bread with a terrible couple of corners. Now Izzat Kush losing at the Bread right there. Bread back ahead of Kazizel, and it's all got back to where we were before. But what a scramble that was to get the positions, and now we may start to see the gloves start to fly off. Now Izzat Kush going to the outside lane and getting ahead of Kazizel now, coming into the final turn. Izzat Kush now looking to catch up the Bread.
Oh my goodness, here we go then.
And into the pits is Kazizel. And is he going to go to the softs? I think he might go to the softs here, because I think that these medium tires may be starting to reach the end of their lifespan. I don't know. Maybe he's a little not too confident about the end here. Wing change. Oh, did he have damage? I didn't see it.
I don't know where he picked up the damage, to be honest. I didn't see that either, where he got the damage, but he got damage somewhere because he's had to come in for a wing change. But at the moment, we're starting to get a little bit more spice here. This only helps again Schiaparelli. In fact, that big scruffle there has gained him 2 seconds clear. Furthermore, on this lap, and I mean, unless he gets that other penalty that we were talking about, which could be a possibility, he is on set to win this race now quite convincingly in the end. That's Furhan Racer, not Schiaparelli, picking up the penalty at the bottom, but we're now getting into the deep stages of this race. Potentially, is Bread now going to look for another look on Bugatti, or is he just going to sit behind again? He's just going to sit behind again for now, it looks like. However, Izzat Kush is getting very close as well to the Williams ahead. A big battle for second place. A lot of these drivers start to get a little bit more hungry as their tyres start to come off a little bit.
They definitely need to make the moves now, because they're not going to have the grip to do it later. But F4L Bread is trying to catch up back with Bugatti. About 0.6 of a second it was there for a moment. Izzat Kush also losing a bit of time. So those tires are starting to lose the end of their lifespan. And the dirty air definitely is not helping their affair either. But Izzat Kush, he almost had an amazing showing there. And then they all went back to where they started before. And Izzat Kush ended up getting ahead of Kazizel, who had wing damage. Unfortunately, Kazizel, this has been a bit of a disaster for AlphaTauri, because they were in really nice positions to possibly take the lead of the constructors here, and now that's definitely not going to be the case. Right now it would be Alfa Romeo who would take the lead in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, and at the moment, a good showing from a bunch of teams. Of course, Williams being one of them. Racing Point also a good show. And it was a good show for AlphaTauri until, of course, what happened to Kazizel. But we cannot deny, of course, still Bugatti is doing well with that team in second place. But Alfa Romeo, though, a great start to the season. A season they would have wanted to start with as well. I believe Chapelele and Ginger last season being teammates in the AlphaTauri last season. They were about to get a good start to the season, but all the wheels came off the car, so it didn't really help them. I was trying to look for some sort of metaphor there, but it didn't really work out.
It was a bit of a that was a bit of a bottle right there, but nonetheless.
I was trying to think of the train has come off the tracks or something. I can't remember it.
Yeah, well, we're going to get off that train wreck, and we're going to get back onto the racing that's going on right now, because FRL Bread is still chasing down Bugatti, but now that gap, 5.4 seconds for FRL Chapelele and Bugatti, and it is getting very good for FRL Chapelele, and even if he picks up another penalty, which we've talked about, that may not matter, because 5.5 seconds the gap right now. He's continuing to gain on Bugatti. Bugatti, FRL Bread, he's at Cush. I'm sure all their tires have now started to see the end of their lifespan, and this is going to be crazy to go this far on the medium tires, and it just goes to show how good these drivers are at their tire management, how they're able to keep those tires alive and through all this torment that they must be going through. And if we go on board of one of the drivers here, I'm going to bring off, let me see if I can bring off the, there's the on graphic screen right there. You can see the graining on Bugatti's tire right there is really starting to pick up now. And we may see these tires be right on their last legs come the end of this race.
Yeah, I expect Bread to look a bit more ambitious going into it. This lap looks like he's much closer to Bugatti. He's closing. Is he perhaps thinking about it? Looks to the inside, but he's just going to sit back, it looks like, again. But is at Cush, more importantly, will be looking to make the move sooner, I would have thought.
And Kazizel has picked up another penalty. Oh, this is not great for Kazizel. He's picked up a penalty again. And I'm sure that was a long pit stop after that 5-second penalty picked up earlier, and it's not going good right now for Kazizel.
Yeah,
but he has set the fastest lap.
That is rather different to perhaps what he would have wanted to do, but at least he stole that away potentially from someone from another team, and the likelihood is it was from someone in the top 10, so that's good for Kazizel, but obviously he won't be picking up a point since he's outside the top 10 at the moment. Bread looks closer than ever on Bugatti. A big lockup on that front right there. We're seeing a lot of lockups in this. He looks much closer. There goes Bugatti. He's picked up his penalty. Chapelele looks like he's about to win this race. Here comes Bread, though. Doesn't need to make the overtake, though, this time, and it does look like he's going to still be ahead of Bugatti come the end of this race because of that small mistake there, but Bread looking very, very close now to the AlphaTauri ahead, and the AlphaTauri starting to struggle a little bit now coming towards these final laps. We would expect that, but now 6.3 seconds behind. Ever since Chapelele had that moment, it does seem like he's picked up the pace and made sure that he can concentrate on the job in hand. So it looks like he's going to be the clear winner of this race unless something majestic happens. But we've seen it before here where he's gone wide. He could potentially go wider and potentially cause himself in a little bit more of an incident.
But does now the race end here? Maybe FRL Chapelele maybe steps back a little bit, doesn't take that risk. Now that there is that penalty in hand, I'm not too sure about any warnings Brett has, but he may be a little bit more lax in terms of his overtake opportunities, but I don't think so actually here as he goes to the inside and he looks on the inside against Bugatti. Bugatti, you can see the tires if you're on board there with FRL Bread. They're really starting to show their patterns in terms of grain, and those rear tires are getting lit up. Those front tires are getting loaded up. It is getting into crunch time now for those medium tires, but FRL Bread is showing all the pace in the world right now, and he is sizing up Bugatti, looking to make a move possibly in the last couple of laps. I know the penalties will help him, but I think as any racing driver, you do really just want to win it on track.
Yeah, most certainly. I think a lot of drivers find that satisfaction, though, from the last lap, making that overtake on the last lap. A driver who could still play for something here is at Cush. It does look like Bugatti at the moment could be settling for third or even fourth place at the moment, but a driver who could still play himself into contention is Izat Kush. But here we go. Bread very close. Bugatti goes defensive then this time. Is Bread going to go for the move? He's breaking later around the outside. Doesn't necessarily need to do this. Bugatti's going to hold his position on the inside. Look at Izat Kush coming towards the inside. He doesn't go for it though. He backs out just for now. He looks very, very close. But again, another opportunity is coming at Izat Kush. He's coming closer. Bread goes defensive. But in fact, he's attacking Bugatti. They're going to go 3 wide, are they? No, they're not. Izat Kush just holding back a little bit at the moment, watching these two battle it out side by side through this corner. Banging wheels again, and there goes Bugatti
into the wall, and there's contact, and that is it for Bugatti's race down the tube, and it's now a total disaster for AlphaTauri. Contact between Bread and Bugatti spins round. And if your Big C still in the chat, and it just crashes it right into the wall, and I think we may see a bit of a penalty situation about that. That was a clear on-purpose crash on track, and that is it for Bugatti. And you have to understand the frustration, but that wasn't necessarily the right move to do there at the end.
Yeah, well, we'll move on from that anyway. There's not much really we could talk about that, to be honest, because it does distract away of the action that we could have. Tamo, by the way, I want to mention, he's on for 4th place at the moment. This is quite an incredible race from him. He's got well away from Mike K. Well, he hasn't got well away from Mike K because he's right behind him. I thought he was further back. No, he's not. These two soft runners, though, of Mike K and Tamo have really, really played it brilliantly here today. And well, they're both from Formula 5, so they're really proving they've got the pace with this reverse strategy. Didn't necessarily show, obviously, pace in qualifying, but in the race, they look very, very dangerous indeed. And obviously, it's the race that gets you points, and perhaps it explains it since they were at the top of their championship last season. Ginger trying to go defensive. I don't think this will really matter, really. To the racing line goes to Tamo. He is through. Mike K will have to settle back, though, perhaps for another lap. And at the moment, Bread is clear of Izat Kush. And I tell you what, it's the final lap, so it's a final chance for Mike K to make a position.
Mike K will be looking maybe to make that final move. Ginger, though, a little bit of wheel spin, though. Those soft tires are definitely going to be starting near the end of their lifespan. But here we go. Mike K going to use up his DRS. He's not using up a lot of ERS because he doesn't have a lot of it right now. Only about 14% in the tank there coming into the braking zone. And he may not be able to make the move on Ginger. Ginger losing all the time to Dirtamo, though. And one more braking zone to go, really, where he could have made it. Ginger, though, overtake being used. Ginger, he's looking close. He might make a move on the inside. Nonetheless, FRL Schiaparelli wins the Grand Prix. FRL Bread comes across the line in second. Izat Kush is going to pick up a podium here in Formula 4. Dirtamo with a drive of the century up into 4th. Ginger into 5th, and Mike K finishes in 6th. What a race that was here, and Kazizel is battling, though, with Farhan Racer, and they're side-by-side coming down to the line, and here we go across the line. Who's it going to be? It's going to be Farhan by 0.15 of a second. What a time to finish right there. What a race here at Bahrain.
Oh my goodness, that ending though, so close. But we saw it really start to heat up in the last 10 laps there. It really got really interesting towards the last 10 laps. It was really nice to see. But yeah, Schiaparelli doing what he needs to do. He started the season off absolutely brilliant, got the pole position, a very good lap indeed, with a 57.4, and not only that, takes the race victory, the first one of the season. He's done what he needs to do, and for the Alfa Romeo team, it's a fairly good start, I would say. P1 and P5.
A perfect start for them. Bread right up there. FRL will be happy. They got two boys on the podium, and Izat Kush. I was doubting he would pick up a penalty here, but unfortunately he has, and I have been in a podium interview room with him before, and we had to shut off the podium interview one time because of it. Nonetheless, let's go over the grid order right there. FRL Schiaparelli wins it. FRL Bread in second, third for Izat Kush. Tamo in fourth, fifth for Ginger, sixth for Mike K. Janik in seventh, 8th for Devin, 9th for Charlie, for Han Racer in 10th, 11th for Kazizel, VRT Jan Racer in 12th, and Bugatti did not finish this race, and if we go down the rest of the grid order, neither did the rest of the grid. A lot of retirements here in the first round of the season, but nonetheless, we will have a podium interview, I presume, and I'm sure that you will send out the invites to everybody, and we can interview. I don't have everybody out here. I don't even know if I have Brett added here, so you're gonna have to help me out there.
I don't think I have Brett added. I definitely have Shafalele added, though.
Well, I have Izad added, so I'll add him, and we can work together on this.
Well, I'll get Brett. You get Shafalele. I'm not sure if we can.
I can get Izad. I have Izad.
Okay.
You have to. No, I don't know. We'll figure out what happens with Brett. May not get it all. Nonetheless,
we can find him.
The comms is going down in shambles here at the end. Let me get into the showroom. I'll bring up that Alfa Romeo, and we'll get this interview room lit with drivers. Oh man, the sayings I'm coming up with, they're horrible. All right. So who are you getting? Are you getting Shap? Okay, okay, well, I'm trying to get, you get Shap, I'm trying to get Izat. Unfortunately, it's not working because PlayStation's being very slow loading up any names. There's Izat Kush. And I will go back to the showroom. And there it is, the FRL12 hashtag Humble. Yes, Humble Squad there in the win for FRL. And hopefully we can get them in and we can have a little bit of an interview. But Sam, while we're waiting, what was the reaction throughout that race overall? What an opening round to the championship.
Yeah, very, very good round to open up, and of course a lot of drama going into it as well. It looks like we're about to see some rivalries as well to start off the season. Obviously for Bugatti, what could have been a really good race for him just ended up being not what he would have wanted. For AlphaTauri in general, could have had a double podium here tonight, but it wasn't the case, unfortunately, for them. But of course, we cannot deny, though, that some teams are looking very good out there. Alfa Romeo looking very strong indeed tonight, with Shafalele taking the initial victory of the season. And speaking of Shafalele, he is here in the comms box now, and so is Brett.
So, Humble Squad is in the party, and Efro Shafalele,
1-2.
You win it. Talk us through that one, and you picked up that penalty there. You had a bit of a bottle into one of the turns there, and we almost thought that you was going to lose it there, but you really had a strong end to your race. Talk us through that one.
Yeah, the pen just made it stressful. I was lucky that Brett got held up in the pits by my car, and then I just had to push, and then I made this mistake and lost like 1.5 seconds. And had to push even more, but pulled out the esports strat, and yeah.
I see. Sam, any questions for our race winner?
There's not very many questions to go off, but one that I really have is, like, obviously, congratulations for your victory. Not the question, of course, but the question I really have, when you made that spin, not that spin, but you made that that little bottle, that little moment into the corner. Did you think for a moment that perhaps you were going to lose that race at that point, or was there perhaps a little bit of pressure now starting to build up on your laps, and did you have the fears of potentially getting that second penalty as well?
Yeah, I was in 2 warnings after that as well, so I thought maybe it was just too much to push out, but then I just derated every lap, used overtake every lap, and it worked. Then they battled and got even bigger gap, and that made it just easier.
Wise
I
words.
think that was quite.
Yep.
Yeah, I reckon that was obviously the thing that really gave you that race in the end. The fact that all 4 of the drivers behind you were battling, of course, with Bugatti unfortunately not even being a part of it at the end. But with that season opener, you've taken the first race win. And quite in a dominant fashion, let's be completely real. You were never really under pressure in terms of having drivers behind you hassle you. Is this a statement perhaps for the season ahead?
It was a strong track for me, so we'll see.
Yeah, Singapore's next, isn't it? Is that a track you like, or is it a track that
real humble,
no?
Real humble
Okay.
from Chapeloli there. Real humble squad moment there.
Yeah, gotta stay humble.
Yeah,
Gotta put the sandbags on.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll move on to FRL Bread now. So, Ix, if you'd like to start.
Yep, I want to talk right away, though, before we get, obviously, congratulations for the second place, but there was some contact at the end there.
There was, yeah.
And I want to get your thoughts on that between you and Bugatti. Obviously, Bugatti did not finish the race. He kind of had a rocket into the wall there at the end. But
yeah. Basically, I was going around his outside. I was holding my line around the outside. He started to make a bit of contact with me. He kept tapping me, started to push me off the track, and then I think he just lost it due to that. I mean, I just tried to hold my line, so unfortunate for him, but yeah.
all right,
not really much to add to that.
Yep, not much. But nonetheless, it was a strong race overall. We were constantly hoping at one point you would make moves, and you didn't. And then we were like, is he going to do it? Yeah. And then, no, he didn't.
The entire race, I was thinking, because Shape had a penalty, I was like, right, well, if I just stick here, save tyres, save ERS, then I might be able to have a go at it, but never came, really, unfortunately. And also, I was in the DRS. I was pretty comfortable in the first stint, but I got held in the pits a little bit, and that cost me like half a second. And after that, couldn't catch back up.
And Sam, any comments for P2 in the race?
Yeah, congratulations to P2, of course, first of all. Brilliant race from yourself to finish at P2. That battle with Bugatti was for the majority of your second stint, and even probably through your first stint as well. You weren't exactly attacking him too much. Was the reason being what we suspected? You were just waiting for the right time to strike, or you just sitting back perhaps? Yeah,
basically because I know that the DRS around this track is so it's so overpowered. Like you gain like half a second a lap. So I didn't want to be in front of him, because if I was in front of him, then I would have had to have used all my ERS and fuel and tried to push and burn out my tyres. Whereas if I stuck behind him, then I knew I'd be able to get him at the end of the race, and I could save tyres, fuel, ERS just to make it easy for me. So yeah.
Yeah, and same question really as Shafalele. What sort of things does this have for you for this season? Do you reckon you'll get more results like this, or is this where you want to? Well, obviously it's where you want to be, but is this where you reckon you will be, or is there potentially a chance where you could go higher or a bit lower?
Hopefully, yeah. But I have some good tracks and some bad tracks. On a bad day, it probably won't end like this. So yeah, but hopefully I can continue like this. It started a lot better than last season did, that's for sure.
Yeah. And obviously, same as Shapalele again. Singapore, is it one of your tracks, or is it a track you dislike?
It's not one of my tracks. It's really not.
I think that speaks for a lot of people, to be honest. It's the same exact thing as me. I'm going into the next week daunting for that track, so we'll have to wait and see. Of course, a lot of people who dislike the track actually end up having a good result, better than they expected, so a bit hopeful for you too, going into next week.
That's true.
Yeah, well, there's no more questions, really, I don't think, from any of us, and I don't think we're going to get... I've already forgot his name. Is that something?
We don't want to use that cushion. We don't want to use that cushion in our party. He says things that end up demonetizing YouTube videos. Let's just say that.
I mean...
no, it's a bad experience. We're glad he didn't join. But nonetheless, that's all. It's all banter. It's all good. But Izat did finish P3, and he had a good race of his own right there. And I actually do want to mention, Brady, you did get a little bit. There was that squabble there, almost going off track a few times with the AlphaTauris, and Izat getting into it involved. Are we going to see that general 5? You think throughout the season?
Hopefully, it'll be fun to have more battles like that. I was just hoping for it to be calm, collected, just stay as it is until the end of the race. Last lap I can go for the move, but then Isaac started pushing, and I was like, oh no, now I have to make the move. I think we had nearly 3 wide at one point. It was a bit hectic.
Yeah, it was great. But nonetheless, there you go. Shapalowy wins it. FRL Bread in second. Isaac Kush rounds off the podium. And that is going to end it here today, ladies and gentlemen. You've been watching live coverage of the Formula 4 World Championship, round number 1 from the Bahrain International Circuit on the short version. And thank you, everybody who joined us live. Thank you, everybody who commented live on the stream. My name is Banias Erlix. I've been joined by VSR Sam, not Sam T. Sam, just Sam. And thank you so much for all the support. It's going to be a heck of a season, to say the least. And thank you so much, and have yourselves a wonderful night.